So today was a pretty long day in the sense that there was a lot to do and just a lot to focus on. After work, all I really think about is work. Work as in my own work. What do I have to do now to make progress on my startup? What little thing can I do now to make sure that some progress is made on what I'm doing? And tonight that thing was adding more restaurants to Picky. And if you don't know what Picky is, check out this video that I recently made about the app that I just launched. It's called Picky, and it's a map that shows you restaurant recommendations by Instagram foodies and Reddit foodies. But back to the point. Tonight, it was adding restaurants to Picky. And this was manually adding these restaurants to our Google Cloud database. And you're probably wondering, aren't you the founder of the startup? Aren't you the CEO? Aren't you the guy who's supposed to be making high-level decisions? Well, sure, but when it comes to doing work for your own startup, you can't be picky. You can't be choosy about what kind of work to do. It's not like you get to choose what you want to do because you have limited resources and limited time. And the only way to get everything done is if everyone is open to doing anything and everything. Your technical co-founders are probably too busy with coding the product, as are my technical co-founders. And they also have full-time jobs as well, so I have to take that into account. So anything that's not technical is really my responsibility. Administrative work, work that has to do with the product, talking to users, all of that is within my purview. And when I'm doing those things, I really have to think about the process of doing them so that I don't end up wasting time. For instance, when it comes to practical challenges like adding restaurants to Picky, we right now have over 1,000 restaurants that have yet to be added to the map. The more restaurants we add, the more useful the application because people can see more restaurants to try, and as a result, will have a greater likelihood of trying a restaurant that they would have not known about had it not been for Picky. Now, how do we add 1,000 restaurants manually into Google Cloud? How do we add all those restaurants? Well, this was a challenge that I faced a couple of weeks back when I had to deal with this problem. How do I add over 1,000 restaurants to a database manually? Because it's not like it just takes minutes to add a restaurant. It takes around 10, sometimes 15 minutes because you have to make sure all the JSON is correct within the database. You have to make sure all the details are correct for that restaurant so that it shows up properly in the front end of the app. And I came up with a way. Well, not exactly me, but I talked to my co-founders and we came up with a programmatic way of adding a lot of these restaurants. And all I really have to do now is to look through the entries that were made by the script that we were able to write. But the point is that you have to think about the process of doing things. It's not as simple as we have all these tasks. I'm going to grind my way through all these tasks. I'm going to add all this effort. I'm going to spend all this time, grind. No, it's not just grinding. You have to be smart about your work because sometimes you'll just feel overwhelmed. And you don't want to keep reaching that point because eventually you're going to wear yourself down. And how you avoid that point of wearing yourself down is you have to be smart about your time. And when you don't know how to solve a problem, like I didn't know how to solve this problem of manually adding 1,000 restaurants. It was only by discussing with others was I able to come up with a solution with them, which is what you should do as well. If you're a startup CEO and founder, you should be open to discussing problems and challenges that you're facing. Don't be someone who just believes in hard work. You have to believe in smart work as well and conserving your mental resources and conserving your time as well. Because all that time that I would have spent adding restaurants to a database, would have spent on this manual work, I can now spend on talking to users, on increasing the distribution of our app through our Instagram profile and our Reddit subreddit. To cut things short, to make things as concise as possible, just be left with this one thing, and that is that it's not only about hard work. It's also about smart work and coming up with the right processes to get things done. If you can master this, if you can get this one takeaway and really internalize it and really apply it to what you're doing with maybe a startup that you're doing or a side project or a business or whatever, or anything outside of it, then you'll have an edge, and you'll decrease the likelihood of wearing yourself down. So that's all I wanted to talk about in today's video. I'm just doing manual work tonight. I'm just adding restaurants. Not really adding restaurants anymore, but reviewing the submissions that were made by the script, which is still a necessary part of the quality control process behind this application, because we want to be as polished as possible to make sure we're giving the right addresses for the restaurants, the right phone numbers. That's all I wanted to say. So if you like this video, hit the like button. And if you want to see more realistic portrayals of what it's like to start a startup and not the glamorous side of starting a startup, hit subscribe. I post videos like these every 3-4 days, sometimes every week, but mostly 3-4 days depending on how busy my schedule gets. But mostly, for the most part, expect around 2 videos a week. So that's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.